Hello, I'm Jake Lynch, and I've spent the past 20 years working on peace journalism, uh, carrying out research on what peace journalism means and the distinctions to which it gives rise in the reporting of conflicts, devising and leading training programs for professional editors and reporters in societies affected by violent conflict, and before that, practicing peace journalism. I spent many years as a journalist, mainly in UK media. I had a spell as the Sydney correspondent for The Independent, in which I also went on news gathering expeditions to places like Thailand and Burma and covered conflict issues there. I was a political correspondent for Sky News in London, and I also covered European summit meetings. Let's just say that the coverage of Brexit in the UK media probably comes as less surprising to me than it does to many around the world, given that experience. So there were ample conflict issues there, of course, and I finished up as a presenter on BBC World Television News, in which I conducted many live interviews with, for example, spokespersons for the administration of George W. Bush about the conflict in Iraq. So I had quite a lot of experience of covering conflict as a journalist. And about 20 years ago, I met Johan Galtung. Johan Galtung is the chief ideas giver of peace research, peace and conflict studies. And at that time, he was talking about something called peace journalism. And so, with colleagues, including my partner Annabelle McGoldrick, we set out to explore what that would mean and its practical implications. And really, I've been doing that ever since. Now, the significance of peace journalism, I think, is that it's a contribution to the symbolic environment in which a conflict takes place. A conflict is a set of relations between parties which is being reproduced in relationships across the conflict formation and the society affected by the conflict all the time. And therefore, the course of events in a conflict depends, at least in part, on the meanings that people make in response to events and developments. And they don't make meanings randomly, they do it with reference to established structures of meaning, social meanings. Journalism is a very significant contributor to social meanings and the way in which they can be circulated and promulgated through the society. So if those meanings can be adjusted in such a way as to enable people to consider and value non-violent responses to the conflict, then the overall environment becomes more conducive to peace, and that could be the contribution of journalism in a society affected by manifold conflicts such as Pakistan. That's why it's so encouraging that we're now looking forward to this event, the first conference in Pakistan to bring together both theoreticians and practitioners to discuss media and conflict and what it might mean for Pakistan media and Pakistan audiences as well, people who are struggling like the rest of us to make sense of the modern world and conflict issues within it and how they are mediated and responded to. So my own contribution, I think, is going to be to emphasise how peace journalism can be successfully introduced to journalistic communities, how it can be made useful to people in practice, and the lessons we've learned over the years from programmes in pedagogy, in teaching and training about peace journalism. I'm particularly looking forward to hearing the impressions of colleagues from Pakistan, both in media and academia. I've done some collaborations with them myself in the past in terms of offering academic papers, but it'd be fascinating to hear what they make of these ideas in their own context. Peace journalism, you see, supplies us with a set of headings. And really, underneath those headings, we will find the detail of the stories that journalists really work on. That's where the rubber hits the road, as I call it. And it's always interesting to see how those theoretical distinctions play out in practice. So that's what I'm particularly looking forward to. I hope we have a good and a thorough and searching debate on these questions. And I think really what's important is for the entire community of people interested in media representations of conflict to discuss and experiment and learn together. And what that means is that we all learn from each other. It also means that efforts to promote and institutionalize the training and teaching of journalists in universities or outside universities also has to proceed with very close reference to and collaboration with the media industry, because that's where journalists are doing the daily hard grind of trying to bring us the facts about what we need to know. So there's plenty to look forward to, and I hope to be joined by many colleagues, and I should be looking forward to the event and looking forward to sharing ideas.